let's go to the Toms River Volkswagen Sports Hotline and welcome into the locker room the CEO of Comcast Spectator, and he's the governor of the Philadelphia Flyers, Dan Hilferty. Good morning, Dan Hilferty.
Good morning, Billy. How are you?
Great
to be on the show.
Thank you so much for taking time. Of course, I know Pat Carr real well. You work out down at the gym down there, and Pat told me to tell you hello, but Pat's a great guy.
Pat is a great guy, but what I do, you're using the term workout very loosely.
Dan, I got to start off by saying I've never met you I've never met you before, but I've talked to people that have, and every person to a person has said nothing but great things about you. About being a great guy, and that's a testament to who you are.
Well, I appreciate that, Billy. And first of all, let's get this out of the way. I'm a South Jersey guy. I don't know if you know that.
I do know that.
I'm originally from Philly, but grew up in Ocean City. It's really neat that you have this show right here in our home area. It really makes me feel good.
Well, I'm pumped up. I've always been a big Flyers fan. Look, it's been 49 years since the Flyers won the Stanley Cup, and I was at that first parade, Dan. I was in sixth grade when the Flyers won their first cup against the Boston Bruins, and I'll never forget. I snuck out of sixth grade to go to the parade.
That's awesome.
And you grew up here. You know what it's like. You know what it's like. The passion of Philadelphia sports fans, but in particular, the turnout that you guys had at the Hard Rock was phenomenal the other day.
Well, I got to tell you, Billy. And it speaks to what's happening with the franchise. I think I know Flyers fans are hungering for us to give them something to get excited about. And whether it was starting with bringing in Jonesy or Danny Briere or bringing Matvei Michkov and now Tocchet. And we're taking the longer look at drafting and building space for free agency. So there's a reason to be excited. And I walked through the room. I did a little video, and I thought, man, this is what we're hoping for, to get people psyched about the future.
We're talking with Dan Hilferty, CEO of Comcast Spectator, the governor of the Flyers. Dan, let me ask you a question. Like, the Flyers used to be the talk of the town. The Flyers always had a winning reputation of being a hard nosed. People were afraid to come into the old Spectrum, and we've kind of lost that. Why is that? Why have the Flyers gone in the opposite direction in the last, maybe, say, 20 years? Or not, since 2010.
Yeah, 2010, the Danny Briere team that went to the finals. Here's my thing. If you look at any number of franchises, and you're right, the Flyers, we hit a peak, obviously the late 70s, remained competitive through the 80s, through the 90s. And I think what happens, franchises sometimes just hit a wall, and in efforts to like speed up a process to get good again, to compete. Sometimes you make what turn out to be fatal mistakes. And I think for us, we had really good people running this franchise, but I think for us it was a couple of the free agents we went out and signed, a couple of draft picks we had high hopes for, just didn't pan out. And we found ourselves out of cap space, quite frankly, and really chasing our own tails. And we decided to just step back and take a break and say, all right, we're going to do this year by year, and we're going to take our time and making sure that we draft as effectively as we can, and we create space for the time where we can really compete.
The Philadelphia Flyers recently hired a former Flyer great, fan favorite, and Rick Tocchet. I know that there were some people that were very skeptical of the Flyers going back to someone that's from the past of the organization. I happen to love it. I know Rick personally, but I think he's a winner. He epitomizes what's that Flyers crest with his tough play, his tenacity, and I love the pick. And I think that we should be really fortunate to have a guy like that that's willing to come here and come back home.
No, I agree, Billy. When you think about it, I get my back up a little bit about that whole why you bring back Flyers. I can remember when I'm going my third year here, and when I think about it, folks were critical of why is Bobby Clark around? Why is Billy Barber around? Why is Paul Holmgren around? Well, here's my response to that. They're the foundational types of this franchise, along with Ed Snyder and many other people. If we forget our past, if we don't go back to that foundational strength that made up the Flyers, whether you call it Broad Street Bullies or however you want to phrase it, there are foundational titans. And I wanted to build this franchise, rebuild this franchise, recognize the glory days, but at the same time bring in new thinking. Well, Danny Briere, he was a great Flyer. Keith Jones, another great Flyer. They've been in many other areas of not only as players but in their careers. And then you look at Rick Tocchet. Sure, Rick came in as a Flyer, had a great number of years with the Flyers, but he played for and coached for other franchises. Right. And in fact, his being in Vancouver, the Western Conference, and to come back here, brought all the depth of knowledge. But in his heart, in his soul, he's a Flyer. And for me, you combine that external experience with being a true Flyer who gets what it is to be a lifetime Flyer. I was so excited that one, Jonesy and Danny wins them to pursue him, and two, that he was willing, ready, and excited to come back to Philly.
We're talking with the governor of Flyers, the CEO of Comcast Spectator, Dan Hilferty. Dan, you grew up a Flyers fan, so you know what it's like. I know you want to win. You want to see the cup return to Philadelphia. Has that helped you with you being the CEO, running things?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Like, you've grown up in this area and being a Flyers fan, has that helped you with your ability to pick and choose who you're going to run this organization? Yeah,
look, I've always said this. I'm a fan. I'm by no means a hockey expert. I have to tell you, over the past couple of years, I've learned a lot. I think what has been my strength in my business career or other things is finding people with complementary skills and building a collaborative community approach to leading things. And when you see Danny Briere and Keith Jones in a room talking hockey or just interacting with each other, and then throw a Rick Tocchet in, there's a level of trust and a level of willingness to let one who has a strong feeling about something really implement that strong feeling. So for me, it's about building a collaborative leadership group, and that's what I bring to the table. Far be it from me to weigh in on these. I think we had a great draft, but what I did was just listen and learn. So it's about bringing in complementary sets of skills, complementary personalities, and building a trusting, community-focused, collaborative environment.
We're talking with Flyers Comcast CEO of Comcast Spectator, and of course the governor of the Philadelphia Flyers, Dan Hilferty. Dan, I got to ask you a question.
Sure.
People, and when I told people that I was having you on, it was funny how everybody asked me about this, about the Kate Smith statue. Do you know where it is, number one, and would you be against bringing it back?
All right. So this is. I have decided not to ask where it is, but I'll tell you this: there's a guy on our team. He's the president of the Wells Fargo Center, and he just runs the facility. He knows exactly where it is. His name's Phil Laws, great guy. But what I'll say to you is that there is something special about that.
Yeah.
And we have a woman in Lauren Hart who's just a beautiful singer. And I will say this: we're exploring ways to obviously bring back God Bless America, but also to honor kind of that winning tradition that Kate Smith brought to us. So I'm not committing to a timeline, but what I'm committing to is that God Bless America will come back, and we're really hopeful that Lauren Hart will help us bring that back. And who knows what the future holds, but maybe there'll be an appearance by Kate.
Well, I got to tell you, I thought it was, when I told people I was having you on, it was like numerous people asked me about that. You think they would talk about the draft or talking or something, but they were asking me about that.
Well, listen, it's interesting. We do these season ticket holder get-togethers during the season,
right.
and so this will be my third one. I get up on the stage, I give a quick synopsis of what's going on and how it's going to take time. We're rebuilding, but this is what's happening. And a hand will go up, and I'll say, "Yes, sir." And the question will be, "Where's the Kate Smith statue?"
It's kind of funny, but I mean,
no. But listen, I get the passion behind it, and we do talk about it, and we're going to figure out how best to at least reintroduce "God Bless America" and the spirit of Kate Smith.
All right, one last statement before you can react to it. I've always said this on my show. I've been on the air here at 97.3 ESPN for 10 years, and I love hockey, but I know that my mantra, that's something I've always said, big guys beat up on little guys. It's just the way it is in sports. And this draft, you guys got size. You got your right winger 6'3". Nesbitt is 6'5". Carter Amico 6'6". You guys got some big guys. I love it.
Yeah, you think about the first 6 picks are all over 6 feet.
Yeah.
The average size of our first 2 rounds is over 6'3", really 6'4". So look, it's interesting, and as I said, I sit in, I like to learn, listen to these guys. I'll weigh in on salaries and those types of things. But I think yes, there was a consciousness that we needed to get bigger in certain areas, but it wasn't that was the number one criteria for drafting a guy.
Right.
And I got to tell you, these scouts that work closely with Danny and Keith Jones and guys from all over the world, they're amazing. The work they do, their dedication to it, their creativity, and it just so happened that the skill sets that we were looking for in our various picks, although we weren't able to get a goalie in our various picks, all ended up being big guys. And I, playing hoops growing up or watching football, bigger guys do bigger.
It's a fact. It's a fact. Well, I got to tell you, we had Rick Tocchet on a couple weeks ago, and Rick said there was 2 criteria that they really focus on, and I'm sure you do as the head of the organization, or as Canadians say, organization. But you want guys with great hockey IQ and great character.
Yeah. Yep. And it's interesting. You know what I heard several times, Billy, your point, and Danny and Jones say it a lot. Right? We're talking. Tell me about Martone, and they're like, he's a flyer.
Right.
He's a flyer, and that to me captures everything that you just articulated. It's about character. It's about team. You heard, you were there, so you heard Charles Barkley introduction of Martone. You know what? It was great because he captured exactly how I feel about hockey players. Really, these guys. I went through the room after every game, shake hands. Certainly not trying to be Ed Snyder, but to show that from where I sit, we care for these guys. We want them to be part of something special. But they're so focused on winning a hockey game and not focused on, geez, I didn't play well myself. It's an amazing thing, and it's something that we intend to really not only maintain, but to let it flourish. And so guys we went after, when we say they're flyers, they're real flyers, it means just that. They're about team, they're about the city, they're about what we're trying to do and build something special.
Well, Mr. Dan Hilferty, I really appreciate you taking time on a Sunday. It's a beautiful day. The ocean ocean water is warm, so you got to get down there and get on the beach. But I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, and let's go Flyers.
Billy, I'm on my way to go see Pat right now, and I'll have him tell you how little I work out.
Tell him I said hi.
Thanks
again, Dan. All right. There he is, the CEO of Comcast Spectator and the governor of the Philadelphia Flyers on the Toms River Volkswagen Sports Hotline.